This person is making a choice about you right now, not next week, not someday far in the future. Right now, in this very moment, somewhere tonight in a quiet place, your name is moving through their mind. Your presence is resting heavily on their heart. They are thinking about what happened. They are thinking about what slipped away. More than anything, they are wondering if they should come back. You did not find this message by chance. Sometimes life brings us exactly where we need to be, even when we cannot yet see the reason. Something has changed. Something has shifted beneath the surface. The energy between you and this person is not frozen. It is moving. And you were led here because there is something you need to understand before another day goes by. Most people never speak about what happens when someone truly believes they might lose the person they love. Many think that once someone leaves, the story is over. They believe the heart simply accepts everything and moves on. But that is rarely how it works. The mind may try to move ahead. Pride may try to create space. Fear may try to build walls. Yet the deepest part of a person does not follow those rules. When someone feels they are losing someone who truly matters, something inside them begins reaching back. Their inner world does not become quiet, it becomes louder. It searches, it remembers, it repeats old moments, it returns to unfinished memories. It keeps trying to reconnect with what feels meaningful. That is exactly what is happening with this person. Stay with me, because what comes next explains more than most people ever realize. Tonight, I want to show you what this journey looks like. I want to show you how love behaves when it stays hidden. I want to show you what happens when someone tries to leave behind a connection that refuses to disappear. I want to reveal the quiet signs, the subtle signals, the small moments, and the invisible pull that keeps drawing them back. Most importantly, I want to help you understand why this person cannot stop thinking about you, even though they have honestly tried. They have tried harder than you probably know. They have told themselves everything is finished. They have convinced themselves enough time has passed. They have repeated the idea that what they felt would eventually fade away. Yet every single time they believe they are finally moving forward, something gently pulls them back. A memory appears, a familiar song plays, a place reminds them of you, a quiet evening stirs old emotions. Your name enters their thoughts without warning. The truth keeps returning, and that truth is simple. What they feel for you is love, not habit, not convenience, not comfort, not simple familiarity. Love, the kind that refuses to disappear just because someone wants it to. The kind that survives beneath every distraction. The kind that keeps rising back to the surface no matter how deeply it has been pushed down. People can ignore love for a while. They can deny it. They can run from it. But they cannot simply order it to disappear forever. Take a quiet moment and place your hand over your heart. Feel the steady warmth beneath your palm. Notice the calm rhythm that has carried you through every challenge you have faced. That feeling matters. It is real. The connection you experienced was real as well. You were not imagining everything. You were not creating stories inside your mind. Something genuine existed between you, something meaningful, something powerful. Even now, that connection still exists beneath the silence, because silence is not the same as absence. Distance is not the same as indifference. Time alone is not always enough to erase what the heart already knows. This person knows that, whether they admit it openly or keep it hidden inside, deep down, they know. Every step of this journey has carried meaning. Every lesson, every misunderstanding, every missed chance, every feeling left unspoken, nothing has been meaningless. Right now, something is changing beneath the surface. A decision is beginning to form. A realization is quietly growing stronger. A truth is becoming harder for them to avoid. But before someone reaches that point, the mind usually follows a process. It rarely jumps straight to a confession. It moves through different stages. The first stage is gentle and almost impossible to notice. It begins reaching back before revealing itself completely. This is where the smallest signs appear. Curiosity quietly returns. Attention slowly finds its way back toward you. They search for your name. Later, they search again. Hours pass, and they catch themselves checking once more. Not because they plan to, because something inside keeps pulling them there. They come across something connected to you and pause longer than expected. They revisit an old memory. They stop on a familiar photo. They remember a conversation they thought had faded away. They suddenly recall tiny details they believed were forgotten. Someone who has completely moved on rarely repeats these patterns. Yet this person keeps doing it over and over because a part of them is still emotionally connected. If this is starting to sound familiar, Keep listening, because the next part explains why these small moments slowly become impossible for them to ignore. They begin noticing changes they once overlooked. They notice when you become quieter. They notice when your energy feels different. They notice when you stop reaching out, and that change affects them far more deeply than they ever expected. At first, they tell themselves it means nothing. Then they think about it again. Later, they wonder why it continues bothering them. Eventually, they realize they cannot find a simple answer. The reason is uncomfortable. Your absence has become louder than your presence once seemed. That realization quietly starts changing everything inside them. Before long, they begin looking for small ways to step back into your world. Nothing dramatic, nothing obvious. Just enough to feel connected again, just enough to see whether you notice, just enough to discover if the door is still open. Maybe it is a profile view, maybe it is a small reaction, maybe it is a casual interaction or a brief appearance that seems easy to explain. On the surface, it looks small. Underneath it carries a much bigger question. Do they still matter to you? That single question slowly grows stronger until it becomes impossible to ignore. Once that happens, everything begins entering the next stage. This is where things become more complicated, because now they are no longer simply remembering you. They are quietly testing the emotional distance between where they are and where you might still be. And what happens next often surprises even them. So stay with me, because the next part reveals what these quiet tests truly mean and why they often happen just before someone finally gathers the courage to make a move. Now they are trying to understand the distance between where things stand today and where they could be tomorrow. They pull away, then they come back, they become silent. Then suddenly they find a reason to reach out. A message appears, an old memory is brought up. A simple question arrives that never really needed to be asked. Something small, something harmless, something that looks completely casual on the outside, but underneath it carries hope. Hope that you will answer. Hope that you still care. Hope that the connection between you has not completely faded away. They want to know if they still have a place in your life, and at the same time they are deeply afraid of what the answer might be. Because if the answer is yes, everything begins to change. If the answer is no, they must finally face the loss they have been avoiding for much too long. That is exactly where they find themselves tonight. Standing between fear and love. Standing between silence and honesty. Standing between walking away and finding the courage to return. Every passing day makes the truth harder to escape. They have noticed something important. They noticed that you stopped chasing them. That single change stirred something inside them that they never expected. Stay with me, because the next part connects everything together. There is something important you need to hear before this message is over. The choice they believe belongs only to them. Whether to return, whether to reach out, whether to cross the distance once again, was never created only inside their thoughts. It did not begin during another sleepless night. It did not appear while staring into the darkness and overthinking every possible outcome. It happened somewhere much deeper. Somewhere fear slowly loses its control. Somewhere the heart already understands what the mind is still trying to explain, and that is why this decision feels so much bigger than they ever imagined. The connection between two people like this does not simply disappear without leaving something behind. Every meeting carries meaning. Every lesson has a reason. Every misunderstanding teaches something that cannot be learned any other way. Fear may slow someone down. Confusion may keep them waiting. Doubt may tell them to stay where they are. But none of those things can erase what was genuinely created between two hearts. Their thoughts are still trying to make sense of everything. Their heart is still searching for words to explain what it already knows. Yet somewhere beyond all the overthinking, the answer has already been waiting. It was there before they even realized there was a question to ask. And that answer has never truly changed. Do not mistake silence for rejection. Let those words settle inside you for a moment. Silence does not always mean someone has forgotten you. It does not always mean someone has moved on without looking back. Sometimes silence is the sound of someone gathering enough courage to face feelings they can no longer hide. Sometimes it is the sound of someone carrying emotions that have become too heavy to ignore and too real to bury. You were never the obstacle in this story. You were never the reason things became difficult. In many ways, you became the answer they had been searching for long before they understood what they truly needed. Take a slow breath. Gently run your hand across your arm. Feel the warmth beneath your skin. That warmth is life moving through you, and it is also a reminder that what you felt was never imaginary. Every time something reminds them of you, something inside them quietly responds. You have always remained part of this story, even during the silence. Keep listening, because the next part reveals why everything is beginning to shift now. They have noticed something they cannot ignore anymore. They notice that you have changed, and that change quietly placed the next move into their hands. Stay with this message, because what comes next may explain everything you have been wondering about. Something inside you has become different. Maybe you cannot fully describe it yet. Maybe you cannot even give it a name, but you can feel it. The uncertainty that once filled your heart has slowly settled into calm. The part of you that kept reaching outward has learned how to stand peacefully on its own. The endless waiting has finally come to an end. Inside the quiet space that followed, something new entered your life. Something stronger, something that had been trying to reach you for a very long time, finally found room to grow. There was a time when you waited. You checked your phone before you were even fully awake. You felt disappointed whenever their name failed to appear. Every notification made your heart race. Every conversation replayed inside your mind again and again. You searched for mistakes. You searched for hidden meanings. You searched for clues that might explain the silence. You read old messages over and over, hoping to discover answers that were never written there. You questioned every word they spoke. Then you questioned every word you spoke. Without realizing it, you carried the emotional weight for both people. You made yourself smaller so someone else could feel comfortable. You apologized for things that never belonged to you. You explained yourself to people who were not truly listening. You kept the door open even after standing there became painful. You poured love into a place that had slowly stopped pouring love back into you. Then everything slowly began to change. You stopped waiting for messages that might never come. You stopped believing your phone held the final answer to your worth. You stopped shrinking yourself just to fit into someone else's empty space. You stopped turning silence into excuses. You stopped protecting actions that never deserved your protection. You stopped measuring your value by how much attention another person gave you. You stopped asking for permission to matter. You stopped asking someone else to choose you before choosing yourself. You stopped standing in cold doorways hoping someone would finally come back. Instead, you quietly stepped forward. You reclaimed your peace. You found strength you did not know was already inside you. And that is exactly what changed everything. The energy shifted because you shifted first. The person who once waited endlessly is no longer standing still. That quiet confidence has become impossible for them to ignore. Whether they admit it or not, they can feel the difference. They sense that something is no longer the same. They know they are no longer looking at the version of you they left behind. They are seeing someone stronger, someone calmer, someone who finally understands their own worth. And when someone realizes they may have lost the person they once believed would always be there, everything inside them begins asking difficult questions. Those questions grow louder every day. They become impossible to silence. They begin leading toward choices that once felt too frightening to make. So stay with me until the very end, because the next part reveals why this inner change is becoming the reason they can no longer keep pretending nothing has changed. You stopped negotiating. You stopped begging for someone to understand your worth. You stopped carrying your heartbreak as if it had to prove something before anyone would care. And in that quiet moment, something beautiful happened. You became whole, not because someone came back, not because anyone suddenly changed their mind. You became whole because you quietly chose yourself. No announcement, no applause, no need for anyone to notice. Something inside you decided your peace was important. Something inside you decided your mornings belonged to you again. Something inside you decided your nights deserved rest instead of endless waiting. You became complete within yourself, and that may be the most powerful change in this entire journey. Even through the distance, they felt it. Even through the silence, they sensed it. Even with everything standing between you, they noticed it. The version of you who waited by the window is gone. The version of you who watched every doorway is gone. The version of you who placed life on hold hoping someone would return has disappeared. They may not fully understand what changed, but they know something is different. People always sense it when someone truly lets go. They feel it when someone finally begins choosing themselves. And the moment they felt that shift, something inside them quietly started reaching back. That is often what happens when someone realizes they might actually lose what they believed would always be there. Stay with me, because this next part explains why that realization becomes impossible to ignore. The smallest signs appear first: a quick glance, a profile view, a reaction. Your name mentioned in a conversation where it did not need to be. Then the quiet testing begins. A little distance followed by unexpected attention. A message that pretends to be casual but carries far more meaning underneath. A simple question that opens a door which has remained closed for a very long time. Little by little, the truth begins revealing itself. Once they noticed the change inside you, there was nowhere for that realization to hide. It kept growing. It kept asking questions they could no longer avoid. There comes a point in every personal journey when someone stops waiting outside the door and becomes the doorway itself. It is the moment when someone stops asking to be chosen and starts choosing themselves instead. You cross that point. Maybe you cannot remember the exact day it happened. Maybe there was no dramatic moment, but it happened. Every step mattered. Every lesson shaped you. Every difficult season taught you something valuable. Nothing you experienced was wasted. The signs you notice around you are not promises about the future. They are gentle reminders. They remind you that life keeps moving. They remind you that change is always taking place beneath the surface. They remind you that something greater continues working even when you cannot see it. A song that suddenly plays. A memory that returns without warning. A meaningful moment that catches your attention. These are reminders to stay connected with your own path instead of becoming trapped inside someone else's choices. Here is one of the greatest truths about love. The moment you stop chasing is often the moment your energy begins changing. The moment you stop searching for constant validation is often the moment your strength becomes visible. The moment you become emotionally whole is often the moment your presence becomes impossible to overlook. You did not become stronger just to win someone back. You became stronger because you deserved peace. That is what truly matters. Real transformation never happens only for another person. It happens because something deep inside finally decides that your own life is worth protecting. Keep watching because the next part brings everything together in a way you may not expect. Take a slow breath and gently rest your hands on your knees. Feel the steadiness beneath them. Feel the calm that has quietly grown inside you. That calm is becoming part of who you are. That steady feeling is your strength. No one else's decision can take it away. No one else's silence can weaken it. The same force that moves the stars through endless darkness has carried you through this season of your life. The same rhythm that guides the oceans through every wave has quietly guided your own journey. The light that travels across the night sky also lives inside you. You are not small. You are not forgotten. You are not without purpose. You are part of something much bigger than this single chapter. Every quiet morning was witnessed. Every lonely evening mattered. Every unanswered question. Every tear. Every moment you wondered if what you felt was real. None of it went unnoticed. You have always been held by life itself. By the breath that keeps filling your lungs, by the unseen strength that kept helping you stand back up after every difficult day. No silence can erase that truth. No distance can make it smaller. Place your hands gently against your face for a moment. Feel your own warmth. Feel your own presence. Your body is reminding your heart that you are still here. Stronger than before. Wiser than before. You are no longer the person who simply waits. You are the person who is ready. Ready for whatever comes next. Ready whether they return or choose another path. Ready because your happiness no longer depends on someone else's decision. That is where your freedom begins. And that freedom changes everything. Maybe one day a message will appear. Maybe it will arrive when you least expect it. Maybe it will be short. Maybe it will say very little while carrying a much deeper meaning. Maybe it will become a conversation. Maybe it will become a meeting. Maybe it will become the moment you stopped expecting long ago. Whatever happens next, you are ready for it. You are standing in open space now, and life has a beautiful way of filling open space with what truly belongs there. You were seen every morning you chose to keep moving forward. You were seen every night you chose hope instead of bitterness. You were seen every time you carried your feelings with quiet dignity. You were seen every time kindness felt harder than anger and you still chose kindness. Every tear mattered, every prayer mattered, every silent moment mattered. You were seen even when nobody else noticed. You were seen even when nobody else understood your heart. You were seen when you believed you were completely alone. You were seen the exact moment you stopped waiting and started living again. You have always been seen. You did not imagine what you felt. The love was real. The connection was real. The emotions were real. You were never foolish for caring deeply. You were never weak for loving openly. You were never wrong for believing in something meaningful. You simply loved with an open heart, and that is something very rare. Time did not make you smaller. The years did not reduce your value. Every lesson shaped you. Every challenge strengthened you. Their fear belongs to their journey. Their hesitation belongs to their growth. Their timing belongs to them. But your peace belongs to you. Your strength belongs to you. Your life belongs to you. Nothing they choose can erase what you have built inside yourself. Nothing can undo the growth you have earned. You are no longer waiting. You are no longer asking permission to move forward. You are no longer standing still. You are whole. You are strong. You are seen. And you are deeply loved.